Carl P. Leubsdorf, don't bet on a Biden-Trump rematch in 2024 just yet. Young voters may be the demographic to determine who wins the 2024 presidential election, and support for Biden and Trump has shifted. A year before Americans elect their next president, strategists and the two 2020 combatants seem convinced the election will again pit President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. Maybe. Maybe not. It's been 67 years since Republican President Dwight Eisenhower defeated Democrat Adlai Stevenson in 1956 in the last presidential rerun. More recent elections suggest how much could change in the next 12 months. 3 of the last 4 presidential elections unfolded differently from the conventional wisdom of 1 year earlier. Beyond that, the ultimate winner in many past elections was not apparent a year out. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than in the last 80 years. The following presidential winners were not regarded as favorites a year beforehand: President Harry Truman, Senator John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton was favored twice, and lost both times. People are also reading. 1 dead, 1 injured after head-on Napa County crash. Napa man who died in Silverado Trail crash identified. Napa teens seriously injured in crash on Jamison Canyon Road westbound State Route 37 to be closed on Saturday night for Caltrans repairs. Arch and Tower brings Robert Mondavi Winery to downtown Napa. Planning for roundabout at Napa 5-way intersection. Moving ahead of Golden, first year at Napa's Golden Bagel Cafe. Napa Valley High School football. Vintage brings a game to Big Game 52, routes Napa 54-19. Details revealed for 52-room luxury resort proposed in St. Helena, Napa Valley. 10 questions. Like mother like daughter, 2 generations run Dalla Valle Vineyards. Matthew Perry, Emmy-nominated, Friends, star, dead at 54. Caltrans schedules one-night full closure of westbound Highway 37 October 28. Napa County tentatively approves KJS and Sorrento Vineyards. The Napa Valley $18.86 challenge. Winston's Cafe and Bakery. No more gardening for Rolfs Manor residents. An article in the Washington Post in November 1979 said that, based on the polls, Reagan was likely to lose in 1980 to Massachusetts Senator Edward Kennedy. But Kennedy lost the Democratic nomination to President Carter, who lost in a landslide to Reagan. In 1948, Truman was seen as an almost certain loser up to the point he won. 1 year before they won, Carter and Clinton were barely known. The recent election that turned out the most different from a year earlier was in 2008. In October 2007, the 2 poll leaders were New York Senator Hillary Clinton for the Democrats and former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani for the Republicans. The 2 ultimate nominees, Obama and Arizona Republican Senator John McCain, were both subjects of speculation that their once promising campaigns were collapsing. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than. But Obama's breakthrough speech at an Iowa Democratic dinner jump-started his campaign, and he upset both Clinton and former North Carolina Senator John Edwards in the Iowa caucuses. Despite losing the New Hampshire primary to Clinton a week later, he went on to win the nomination and election. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than. Similarly, McCain got his big boost by winning the New Hampshire primary, as he had 8 years earlier against ultimate Republican nominee George W. Bush. Giuliani pinned all his hopes on the Florida primary, but finished third, folding his campaign a day later. More recently, the changes in the year that climaxed with the election weren't as dramatic, but the campaigns unfolded differently from the outlook the preceding November. In 2011, polls showed Obama would have difficulty winning re-election, but the identity of his likely GOP opponent fluctuated from month to month. In November, the ultimate nominee, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney, was in a tight race with a little-known businessman, Herman Cain. The latter's candidacy soon collapsed, but Romney lost the Iowa caucuses and South Carolina primary before emerging on top. In November, he lost to Obama, the first Democratic president since Franklin D. Roosevelt to win twice with more than 50% of the popular vote. In 2015, most analysts were skeptical Trump would win the GOP nomination, though he had emerged in the preceding 6 months to poll competitively against Hillary Clinton. Several November 2015 polls showed him ahead of Clinton, but a Marist McClatchy poll had a big Clinton lead with Trump tied in the GOP race with another neophyte candidate, Dr. Ben Carson. A year later, Trump edged Clinton by winning narrowly in Michigan, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, though the former Secretary of State held a 3 million national popular vote margin. 4 years ago, polls showed Joe Biden in a close race with liberal Sens. Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. Time equals 400 ms greater than, but Sanders and Warren failed to take advantage of Biden's poor showings in Iowa and New Hampshire, and he rebounded with second in Nevada and a landslide victory in South Carolina. The disruptions caused by the COVID pandemic prevented normal campaigning. But, from the outset, polls showed that, if nominated, Biden would have a good chance of beating Trump. As he did. Every election, of course, is different. But there are some patterns. The last 4 presidents, George W. Bush, Obama, Trump and Biden, all faced close re-election races, reflecting the evenly divided country. A loss in Ohio would have cost Bush the 2004 election. Trump lost by under 100,000 votes in 3 states. Republican Reagan and Democrat Clinton, by contrast, comfortably won second terms, Reagan routing Democrat Walter Mondale and Clinton beating Republican Bob Dole and Independent Ross Perot. Time equals 400 ms greater than. In some ways, the impending 2024 race resembles 1948 when Truman, suffering low job approval levels, faced dissident Democrats on the left, former Vice President Henry Wallace, and the right, South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond, plus the Republican, New York Governor Thomas Dewey. Polling, then in its infancy, showed Dewey ahead, but, on election day, Truman won. Biden, too, could face multiple challengers. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced an independent candidacy, as has progressive author-activist Cornel West. The bipartisan No Labels group plans to run a moderate alternative. With such uncertainty, presidential polling is tricky, with signs Kennedy might hurt Trump, and West and No Labels would damage Biden. But history says the race may look a lot different by next November 5. Leubsdorf is the former Washington bureau chief of the Dallas Morning News. carl.p.leubsdorf@gmail.com. Tags DCC. Lee National Lee Opinion Wire Opinion Commentary. Catch the latest in opinion. Get opinion pieces, letters and editorials sent directly to your inbox weekly. Sign up. I understand and agree that registration on or use of this site constitutes agreement to its user agreement and privacy policy.